Good morning, everyone. Hello,
Hello.
Heather.
Morning.
Hello, Ray. Ray, you're in Palm Springs today.
Absolutely. Spring break in Palm Springs. Can't beat it. Beautiful weather, and you know, got to view of the mountains around us. It's just very very cool here.
And Heather, where are you?
And very hot Houston.
And I am there with you in very hot Houston. I think we're supposed to have our first 90-degree day today. Isn't that
Are
correct?
you serious?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
and
I'm
not
getting
even
stuff.
April 1st, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's early.
first 90-degree day. But
Mm-mm.
you'll hear more about the weather, sure,
Uh,
on subsequent broadcasts as we get into the thick of summer. I'm
Yeah, we're
sure
melting.
we're moping already about how hot it's going to be. But when it's cold, it reminds me that I like the hot weather. Okay, so what's our topic today, Heather?
So we are going back. We've previously talked about transparency, pay transparency, but now we're going to just back up a little bit and talk about transparency overall in the workplace. I think this is something that a lot of people are very interested in.
Well, I think it's
yeah,
something right now that's a little bit difficult with a lot of the things that are happening in the corporate environment right now. When you see situations where companies are saying we had our best quarter ever, but we're laying off 10% of our workforce, or we've got this great product line, but we're selling it. So there's a lot of things that I think are happening right now that are basically having a really negative effect on corporate transparency and how that's affecting the workplace. And so, Ray, I don't know if you have any thoughts around that.
yeah. No, I think that you're exactly right. I think a lot of many years of positive and openness can be eliminated very quickly, with a reduction in force. I mean, that's a classic way to, you know, cause problems with your culture, and we've seen that in organizations we've worked at before, where, things are going great, a lot of positive things are happening from an organizational perspective, and then all of a sudden, a decision is made that causes huge problems. And I think that's one of the challenges we're having right now with a lot of organizations.
I think when you're in a situation and you just can't believe, no, you are unable to believe what's coming out of your leaders in terms of what they're saying. It erodes credibility, it erodes trust, and so you don't feel confident about anything that's happening out of the organization, and that's a tough place to be in. People will eventually head for the exits pretty quickly when they feel like the timing is right to leave. I think right now people feel pretty certain they're going to stay where they're at just because there's so much instability in the market right now. But when you erode that trust and you erode that culture of transparency, or you don't have a culture of transparency, people don't want to stick around for the long term. And building a transparent culture is not really that difficult. It's just being as honest as you can about things that you think employees want to know. Now, obviously, there's things that you can't tell and you are not going to tell. And so no company is going to do that. Nobody's advocating for companies to do that. But in places where you can be open and honest, that's where it's important to do so. And there's different strategies for open communications, whether that's the actual mechanisms that you follow to do that, or so employee comms is really important. And then communicating company goals and missions. What are we doing? What are we working on? What's important? Why are we here? Why are we all together? A lot of companies do that very well, and there are some companies that just don't do a great job of that, and that's something you need to get better at. Um, the better the culture is, the better that employees are going to be able to work and feel good about the company. Now, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were doing a search for a really well-known company, and they asked me if I knew of anybody, and the person asked me, what do you think is really difficult in terms of creating culture for companies nowadays? And I said, well, I think the thing that's difficult is that every single group in a company has a microculture. And so you just can't have one set of things that you do for the entire population, because those set of things aren't necessarily the right things for that population in your organization, you have to have a lot of different things that appeal to different people, and create those opportunities to have a microculture that appeals to the all of your employees in an organization. Now, having good company goals and missions is important, but the type of benefits you have, or or the type of educational assistance, or the type of training that you do, or things like that, are all different from person to person. And the more you understand that, the better off you're going to be doing to create a really lasting culture. And the more you do that, the better your engagement is, and then the more likely it is that employees will stay when you're navigating challenges. And that's some of the conversation I had with that person yesterday, which was interesting, Heather, because when you suggested this topic, it was very timely off of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we have a client that's working really hard to to do this through their company goals, and building out a very large strategy on 100% transparency. Everyone can see what's going on, whether it's in your department, someone else's department, how those goals roll up into the main company goals. And it's going to be great to see how that all pans out, so that people can completely see what's going on, where are we going, and how are we going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Super critical. I think, Ray, you're on mute.
Oh, yep, you're on
The
mute,
other
right?
thing that's critical, I think, around culture is, one of the comments I heard recently was, uh, you know, culture really is defined on how people feel about going to work on Sunday for Monday.
Mhm.
It's really about making sure people feel good about coming to the office, understanding what they've got to do, and how that impacts the rest of the company and how they impact those goals. Uh, and I think the one of the biggest challenges we've got going on right now is you know a lot of the individuals in the workforce are very transparent. And sometimes what's been happening over the last 6 to 12 months is some of that transparency that they've shared with their manager has been used against them in making decisions on having a
Mhm.
job or not having a job. And that's a real challenge, I think, right now in organizations, that balance of being open, but figuring out kind of how far to go with the workforce right now.
What's the example of what was used against them in terms of how they were feeling about the organization or what they liked about their jobs, and then did they get laid off? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, the people, or a couple of people I've talked to about this, is just around, uh, they've kind of let their organization know, hey, I'm going to be in the office for the next 12 months, but my plan is to move to the mountains and work from the mountains. Uh, and once that organization found out about that, they really limited that individual's ability to get promoted and do other kinds of projects, because the leader knew that they were going to be, not going to be in the office every day. So, so that's a problem. I mean, when you've got, they were very open, but because of being open and because of their overall plan, that is impacting their ability to get projects as well as, be available for promotions.
Yeah, I tried that once. I had a job where I told my boss, it's the only time I ever did it. I told my boss, hey, I just want to let you know I'm moving down to Orange County to Newport Beach, and I'm going to do my job from there. And he said to me, well, good luck in Orange County, but you're not doing your job from Orange County. So the one time I tried it, it didn't work. So boy, I hope it works out better for that
Yeah,
person than it worked out for me.
yeah. This person, clearly it's not worked out well. So they're rethinking their move to Durango, Colorado from Denver.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you've got to really be. I don't know the old saying. You really got to be in the catbird seat to make that one work well.
yeah,
That's
exactly, exactly.
that's a tough move.
Yeah, so I think things like that are happening throughout organizations, and I think folks have to kind of think about, okay, how much do I share, of what I'm planning versus and how can that potentially impact me in my career? But I think that right now it's a balancing act between how much organizations can share and how much individuals should share. Uh, but yeah, it is tough. I mean, that open communication, there are limits. Uh, because we've seen challenges to that, and but the real key from an organizational perspective, I think, is always trying to share as much as you can, and when you can't share, be honest about it. It's like, hey, that's privileged information that we cannot release because we're a public company. There's certain things that you can talk about, other things you can't, and let folks know kind of what those where those boundaries are, because that's really really important.
Heather, you worked for a lot of companies, both large and small, and in some of the roles that you had, you were in a distributed environment far away from the corporate office, and those are always the most difficult environments to be getting the
Mhm.
company goals and missions, to be getting transparency, to be getting the messages. What examples do you have of companies that you work for that really did that well, that were able to really push out a message that helped you in your situation when you were largely dispersed from the corporate office?
Probably my best example would be managing a hotel, and corporate, the management company. It's always those people. They don't. There can be a feeling that they don't know who we are. They don't care about us. Ironically, they were in Denver, Colorado. I was in Texas. Hotels all over the United States, and they brought in a new CEO. And what was so great about that CEO is this was very important to him. And he started several different things, one including, wanting to help all the leaders throughout all the hotels level up. And so he started off with a book that he ordered for every leader. And so, manager of housekeeping, manager of maintenance, so on and so forth. And then myself as a general manager, we read through that book, worked through the different tasks within that book, discussed it every week, and then we got to be able to report that back to corporate. So it was a two-way road, and it got to the point where they were the rest of the team, the leadership felt they were getting less of those people, the corporate people, that get to sit in a office all day. They don't know us. That changed quite a bit. It was a really neat initiative that helped a great deal.
Well, that's really cool. So that
Mm,
was actually something that they really thought through and put together the mechanisms to make that happen.
hmm Yeah, it was very beneficial.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question. It'll make Heather cringe because every topic that we have now seems to have this thread in it. AI, is it going to foster openness in the workplace, or
Mm,
is it going to hamper openness in the workplace?
I think it could go both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, I think AI is going to definitely be. I think it's going to hamper openness because uh, I think folks are a little concerned about, what part of my job is AI going to take over, and how quickly is that going to happen, and do I have the skills to uplift myself to be more strategic in the organization. So I think that there's you know, I think it can go both ways, but I think it definitely is going to be a challenge from a openness because I don't think there's anybody going to be running into their manager's office saying, "Hey, AI can do this, AI can do this in my job." Uh, so what can we, what can we hand that over? That's going to be tough. It's a really, really a tough situation, and I think it's going to be a communication and change management strategy challenge for folks. And
Yeah, that's a good
I
point,
think
and that's why one of our
yeah,
AI partners, one of the individuals that does a lot of the outreach and work with companies, is a change management expert,
yep,
as that is a huge part of implementing AI. I guess my question would be, okay, let's say we've gotten over the change piece of it. Let's say we've said we're going to use AI fairly heavily in the organization, and we're now using it. Once we're through that, do we feel like those tasks that AI is now doing and that work it's now taking, is that going to hamper transparency or openness? I think it might actually open it up, because
Yeah.
as opposed
Yeah.
to a person doing the work and you having to go talk about a person saying, oh my gosh, Jason didn't do a good job on this project, or I'm not getting the right information, or and people don't necessarily want to do that. Your conversations focus more around the technology and your inability to get what you need out of the technology. So my thought is, I think in some ways it might actually improve openness, especially if there's things that you're not able to do or to get because of the technology is not doing what you need it to do. But that's just a hypothesis.
Yeah.
I think it's
No,
all
I
that
would agree.
strategy, like what you were saying, Ray.
Yeah.
It can be garbage in, garbage out, or it could be, depending on how it's all set up and the communication, how everything, if you put in bad, you're going to get bad coming out. But if you really think about what you're putting in, then it could help
Yeah.
a great deal in non subjective data.
Yes, it's all
Yeah.
about the data. It's
Yeah.
all about the data, as we talked about yesterday
Yeah.
on the call,
Yeah.
Heather. It's all about the data.
Mhm.
No, it is. But I think once you communicate well, people understand. Hey, this is going to take away some of that repetitive work that you don't like doing anyway. And get them an opportunity to learn and do different things. I think that's the real key. It's like, hey, do you like answering the same question 10 times a day on what's the PTO policy for me? No, I mean let's just let the AI take care of that, and let's have you focus on, you know, looking at the data and doing some analysis to figure out how to improve the employee experience around policies and practices. So I think that's the
Mhm.
real key. That's where the benefit is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Or unless you're the parent of a toddler or of a 5-year-old, and you're being asked the same question over and over again. No,
hey,
you
that was
cannot have a graham cracker right now before dinner.
yeah, yeah. I was chasing my 5-year-old grandson all day yesterday, so I was you know from hot tub to pool to another pool to being hungry. I mean, it was I couldn't take my eye off that guy, or else I'd lose him.
Do you have a
So
nice bottle of Advil near your bed before you went to sleep last night
exactly, I'm like, oh my God, Jacob, you're driving me crazy here.
for the headache and the muscle aches of chasing a 5-year-old?
That was me. That was me yesterday.
Oh gosh.
Well, I think this is a good topic. It's one that we need to continue to drive on and talk about, as transparency is, something that is it's critical in the workplace, and we can help you with processes and strategies on how to improve transparency, how to improve your communications, what are the things that you can do to make that happen. So we're excited to work with you on that topic.
Yeah, definitely. Please let us know. We can help you with this, and we'd love to even talk to you about your overall AI strategy and how to improve your workplace.
We'll talk to you in person, hence the phone number 888-393-3453 if you want to talk to either of us about what we've got going on. Heather, how do
Yeah.
they reach you?
They can call. They can email me at heather.simmons@thrivehrconsulting.com. We're also on LinkedIn too. And your website. You can book an appointment with us through our website at thrivehrconsulting.com.
And Ray, how do they reach you?
Yeah, just Ray, REY, at thrivehrconsulting.com. Let us
Y-
know. We'd love to help you.
I was watching a movie. Well, actually, not a movie. It's a series on Netflix. There's 8 of them. It's really good. It's produced and directed by Guy Ritchie. It's called The Gentleman. And one of the characters is in prison, and he uses carrier pigeons to correspond to all of his cronies outside of the prison. It's pretty interesting. It was really neat. So when we say carrier pigeon, there are people, well, at least the movies are still highlighting carrier pigeons.
There you
So
go.
I don't have a carrier pigeon, so I can't really be part of that. But you can reach me at jason@thrivehrconsulting.com. But it's a good movie. It was a good series of 8. It was really good.
Hmm.
You guys have a great
Okay.
rest of the
All right,
day,
I'll talk to you
everybody.
later. All right, see you later. Bye.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.